The stagecoach rattled across the rutted trail, each jolt sending dust spiraling through the gaps in the wooden frame. Anna Johnson pressed her handkerchief to her nose, the late afternoon sun beating mercilessly through the small window. Her travelling companions, a silver-haired colonel and his wife, had long since abandoned conversation, lulled into silence by the monotonous rhythm of hooves against parched earth. "Should be in Santa Fe by nightfall, Miss Johnson," the driver called back, his voice nearly lost to the wind. "Your father'll be mighty relieved." Anna nodded, though no one could see her. Reverend Thomas Johnson had sent for her after establishing his mission in the New Mexico Territory. An abolitionist from Boston, her father had never been one to shy away from difficult terrain, whether of land or of human hearts. "Indians!" The driver's cry shattered the afternoon stillness. The stagecoach lurched violently as the horses reared. Anna clutched the wooden seat, her knuckles white. Through the window, she glimpsed swift shadows descending from the rocky hillside. The first shot cracked the air like thunder. "Get down!" the colonel shouted, pulling his wife to the floor. Anna barely had time to react before the stagecoach door wrenched open. A copper-skinned hand reached in, strong fingers closing around her wrist. She screamed, kicking and thrashing as she was dragged into the blinding sunlight. Her captor's face came into focus, angular features framed by raven hair, his dark eyes revealing nothing as he assessed her. He spoke sharply to the others in a language she didn't understand. The colonel was shouting. The driver slumped over, motionless. Before Anna could comprehend what was happening, she was hoisted onto a horse, her captor mounting behind her. "Please," she gasped, "I have nothing of value." Silence. His English was accented but clear. "You are value." The band of warriors departed as swiftly as they had come, leaving the stagecoach behind. Anna twisted to see the colonel helping his wife back inside. They were alive. Small mercies, she thought numbly. They rode hard through terrain that grew increasingly rugged. Anna's thoughts scattered like the dust kicked up by the horses' hooves. Her father would be waiting in Santa Fe. Would he organize a search? Would the army come? Or would she simply vanish, another Eastern girl swallowed by the merciless West? By nightfall, they reached an encampment nestled in a hidden valley. Women emerged from hide-covered dwellings. Children peered curiously from behind their mothers' skirts. Anna was helped, not roughly but firmly, from the horse. Her legs buckled beneath her, and her captor caught her elbow, steadying her. In the firelight, she finally saw him clearly. Taller than the others, with a jagged scar running from temple to jaw. His eyes were not cold as she had first thought, but watchful, wary. "Why am I here?" Anna whispered. "Your father, the talking man in black coat. He has influence with bluecoats." His voice was low, measured. "They hold my brother. 3 others. We trade. You're using me to bargain for prisoners." Understanding dawned like a cold sunrise. He nodded once. "I am Notah. You will not be harmed." He gestured toward a small dwelling. "Rest. Tomorrow we send message." An older woman approached, offering a clay cup of water. Anna accepted it with trembling hands. "My name is Anna Johnson," she said, raising her chin slightly. Notah regarded her for a long moment. "Anna," he repeated, the syllables softening in his mouth. Then he turned and walked away, leaving her with the older woman, who ushered her toward the dwelling. Inside, a bed of furs had been arranged, clean, comfortable, not what she had expected. Anna sank down, exhaustion washing over her like a tide. Through the open flap, she watched Notah speaking with the other warriors, his silhouette outlined against the fire. Not a savage, as the newspapers described, a man fighting for his family. Her first night in captivity, Anna wept silently until sleep claimed her. Days passed. Anna's fear gradually gave way to an uneasy routine. Each morning, the older woman, Keisha, she learned, brought food and fresh water. Anna was permitted to move freely within the camp, though always under watchful eyes. She noticed how the children initially hid from her, how the women whispered when she passed, but no one mistreated her. Notah kept his distance, appearing only to check that her needs were met. He spoke little, but his eyes often found hers across the campfire in the evenings. Once, when a younger warrior approached her too closely, Notah's single sharp word had sent the man retreating. On the 5th day, Anna gathered her courage and approached him as he repaired a bridle. "Has there been word?" she asked. "From my father, Or the army? Notah's hands stilled. They receive message. They consider. And if they refuse the exchange? His gaze lifted to hers. Then we find another way. Would you hurt me? The question escaped before she could reconsider. Notah set the bridle aside, rising to his full height. I am not what your people think, Anna Johnson. She believed him, and that certainty frightened her more than any threat could have. That night, as the camp settled into darkness, a sudden commotion erupted. Notah appeared at her dwelling, tension etched into every line of his body. Army scouts, he said tersely. We move, now. Within minutes, the camp dissolved into orderly chaos. Anna found herself once again on horseback with Notah, the night air sharp against her face, as they rode deeper into the wilderness. Behind them, the distant sound of hoofbeats faded. The scouts had lost their trail. They traveled through the night, finally stopping at dawn beside a shallow creek. While the others made camp, Notah led Anna to the water's edge. Wash, he said, offering a square of cloth. Rest soon. Anna knelt by the creek, splashing the cool water on her dust-streaked face. When she looked up, Notah was watching her with an expression she couldn't decipher. Why did you become a warrior? She asked, surprising herself with the question. A shadow crossed his features. When white men come to our lands, they leave no choice. My father believes in peace between our peoples. Words. Notah's voice hardened. While his soldiers take our children to their schools. Take our lands for their cattle. Anna had no answer. She had seen the reservation schools in the East, heard her father speak of civilizing the native peoples. It had seemed noble then. Now, facing Notah, she felt the first crack in her certainty. That evening, as they shared a simple meal, a sudden summer storm swept through the canyon. Rain pounded the hastily erected shelters. Anna huddled beneath a buffalo hide, watching fat droplets splatter the parched earth. Notah appeared in the entrance, water streaming from his hair. Shelter not good, he said, frowning at the leaking roof. Come. He led her to a larger dwelling where a small fire burned. He motioned for her to sit, then began methodically drying her sodden shawl near the flames. Your father, he said unexpectedly. He speaks against slavery? Anna nodded. All his life. He believes all men are created equal in God's eyes. All men? Notah's gaze was piercing. Or only those who look like him? The question hung between them, challenging everything Anna had been raised to believe. Before she could respond, a blinding flash of lightning split the sky, followed immediately by a deafening crack of thunder. Anna flinched involuntarily. Notah's hand covered hers, a brief, reassuring touch. Storm passes soon. That simple gesture of comfort, more than anything else since her capture, undid her. Tears welled in her eyes, spilling down her cheeks before she could stop them. I'm afraid, she whispered. Not of him, she realized, of how quickly the world she had known was shifting beneath her feet. Notah remained beside her, his presence steady as the storm raged outside. He didn't speak again, didn't offer empty reassurances. But when Anna finally drifted to sleep, exhaustion claiming her, she felt safer than she had any right to feel as a captive in an Apache camp. Morning brought clarity to the desert, sharp edges and stark contrasts after the cleansing rain. The Apache camp had relocated to higher ground, a mesa overlooking miles of rugged terrain. Anna stood at the edge, watching the sun ignite the distant mountains in gold and crimson. Beautiful, she murmured to herself. Di Bikiya, came Notah's voice behind her, Apache land. She turned to find him watching her, his usual reserve softened by something like pride. You're home, Anna acknowledged. Once. Bitterness edged his words. Now we move like shadows on our own land. 2 weeks had passed since her capture. The initial fear had faded, replaced by an unsettling awareness. These people, whom she had been taught to fear, lived, loved and grieved like any other. Their children played. Their elders told stories. And Notah. Notah was becoming dangerously human in her eyes. That afternoon, while most of the camp rested in the shade, Anna noticed Notah sitting alone, working a piece of wood with a small knife. Curiosity drew her closer. What are you making? She asked. He glanced up, seeming unsurprised by her approach. Flute, for my brother's son. His hands moved deftly, the blade revealing delicate patterns in the smooth cedar. When he returns. Your brother. The one the army holds. What is his name? Taklishim. Notah's fingers stilled. It means strength. Anna sat nearby watching him work. How was he captured? Hunting deer near the reservation boundary. Soldiers said he crossed their line. Contempt flashed across Notah's face. Lines on paper mean nothing to deer. I'm sorry, Anna said quietly. Notah's gaze lifted to hers, searching for mockery and finding none. After a moment, he extended the half-finished flute. Hold! Anna took it carefully, running her fingers over the smooth surface and the emerging pattern of stars. The wood was warm from his hands. My mother taught me, Notah said, the admission clearly rare, before blue coats came to our village. What happened, she asked, already dreading the answer. What always happens when your people find something they want? His voice remained even, but pain shadowed his eyes. Many died, including her. Anna returned the flute, their fingers brushing. Not all white people are the same, Notah. No? He resumed his carving, his movements more deliberate. Your father speaks peace while soldiers take our land. Your government makes treaties they break before the ink dries. He looked up, his gaze unwavering. Perhaps you are different, Anna Johnson, but you are one voice against many. The truth of his words stung. She had lived sheltered by privilege and distance, believing in her father's mission without witnessing its consequences. That evening, as the camp prepared the evening meal, Anna found herself helping the women grind corn. Keisha showed her how to move the stone properly, correcting her technique with patient hands. When Anna finally produced a handful of properly ground meal, the older woman's weathered face creased in a smile. Across the fire, Notah watched the exchange, his expression unreadable. Later, beneath a canopy of stars so brilliant they seemed close enough to touch, the tribe gathered around the fire. A wizened elder began speaking, his voice rising and falling in cadences Anna couldn't understand but found oddly soothing. He tells of the creation, Notah said quietly, appearing beside her. How first man and first woman brought our people into this world. Will you translate? Anna asked. Notah hesitated, then settled beside her. As the elder's story unfolded, Notah's low voice carried the English words to her, a tale of darkness and light, of struggle and harmony with the earth. Anna listened, mesmerized by the rhythm of two languages intertwining. When the story ended, the tribe began to sing, a haunting melody that needed no translation. Anna felt something shift within her, like earth yielding after rain. Thank you, she whispered. Notah nodded once, but remained beside her until the singing ended and the fire burned low. Days slipped into a week, then another. No word came from the army or her father. Anna found herself less a prisoner and more a reluctant guest, joining the women in their daily tasks, learning their language in fragments. Some nights, she still wept for home, but increasingly she wondered what home meant. One scorching afternoon, Anna was gathering plants under Keisha's instruction, when she strayed farther than intended. A rattlesnake's warning buzz froze her in place. The snake coiled, head raised, before she could retreat. Don't move. Notah's voice, low and urgent. He appeared at her side, moving with the silent grace that still startled her. In one fluid motion, he positioned himself between Anna and the snake, his knife drawn. The snake struck, but not at Anna. Its fangs sank into Notah's calf. With a swift, practiced movement, he dispatched the snake. Then, without a word, he limped toward camp, refusing Anna's attempt to help him walk. Keisha took charge immediately, directing Anna to help lower Notah onto a mat. The older woman worked quickly, slicing the wound to extract venom, applying a poultice of herbs. Will he be all right? Anna asked, her voice tight with unexpected fear. Keisha's dark eyes assessed her curiously. Strong. He lives. She pressed a damp cloth into Anna's hand. Cool his head. Through the night, Anna kept vigil. She bathed Notah's fevered brow, helped Keisha change the poultice, whispered prayers she'd learned at her father's knee. Sometime past midnight, Notah's eyes flickered open, clouded with pain. You're safe, he murmured, confused. Yes, Anna replied, her throat constricting. Because of you. His eyes closed again, but his hand found hers in the darkness, fingers curling weakly around her own. By morning, the worst had passed. Notah slept deeply, his breathing even. Anna stepped outside to wash her face in the pre-dawn coolness, her limbs heavy with exhaustion. A young warrior approached, his expression guarded. "Message," he said in halting English, extending a folded paper. "From Soldier Fort." Anna's heart leapt. Her father had responded at last. She unfolded the paper with trembling fingers, reading the carefully penned words. "To the Apache band holding Miss Anna Johnson. Negotiations for prisoner exchange are suspended until Miss Johnson is returned unharmed. Military action is authorized if compliance is not immediate. Colonel James Hendricks, Fort Marcy." No mention of her father, no acceptance of terms, only threats. When Notah woke later that day, Anna showed him the message. He read it slowly, his face hardening with each word. "Your army wants war, not exchange," he said finally. "These aren't my father's words," Anna protested. "He would negotiate. Perhaps your father no longer decides." Notah pushed himself upright, wincing. "The blue-coat Colonel Hendricks, he has reputation. His son died in Apache raid 2 seasons ago." The implications settled heavily. "What will you do now?" Notah met her gaze directly. "What would you do, Anna Johnson? Return to those who would destroy us? Or stay and die fighting?" She had no answer that didn't betray someone. That night, Anna couldn't sleep. The camp had grown tense with the news, warriors discussing options in low voices around the fire. Notah, still weak from the snakebite, had insisted on joining them. Anna slipped from her dwelling, drawn to the vast silence of the mesa's edge. The moon silvered the landscape, revealing its harsh beauty. Below in the shadowed valley, she thought she glimpsed movement. Perhaps deer, perhaps something else. Notah appeared beside her, moving silently despite his injury. "Not safe here," he said. "Too exposed." "I needed air," Anna replied, "and answers. Some questions have no good answers." He leaned against a boulder, favoring his injured leg. "You should be resting." A faint smile touched his lips. "You sound like Keisha." The unexpected glimpse of humor caught Anna off guard. She found herself smiling in return. "She's a wise woman. She says the same of you." Notah's gaze held hers. "Strange wisdom, perhaps, but she sees your heart." The simple statement unsettled Anna more than any declaration could have. "And what do you see, Notah?" He looked away toward the distant mountains. "A woman caught between worlds, like me." The comparison startled her. "You belong with your people." "My people are dying, Anna." His voice carried no self-pity, only stark truth. "We fight because we must, but each season fewer return to the fires. Some surrender to reservations. Some die by bullet or disease. Some—" he hesitated. "Some begin to forget who they are. Is that why you fight? To remember?" "I fight for what remains." He turned to her, moonlight carving shadows beneath his cheekbones. "What do you fight for, Anna Johnson?" The question echoed in her mind long after they returned to camp. What did she believe in strongly enough to risk everything? Her father's mission? A god who seemed increasingly distant in this vast wilderness? Or something she was only beginning to recognize? A yearning for truth, however difficult it might be to face. As dawn approached, Anna made her decision. When the camp stirred to life, she sought out Notah, finding him checking the horses. "I want to help negotiate," she said without preamble. "Let me write to my father directly. He'll listen to me." Notah studied her, wariness battling with hope. "Why would you help us?" Anna chose her words carefully. "Because what's happening to your people is wrong. Because my father taught me that justice matters. And because—" She faltered, then continued more quietly, "because you saved my life when you could have let me die." After a long moment, Notah nodded. "Write your letter. We will send it with first light tomorrow." That night, by firelight, Anna composed her plea to her father, pouring out everything she had witnessed and learned. She described the Apache not as savages, but as people fighting desperately for survival. She explained about Notah's brother and the others held without trial. She asked her father to use his influence with Colonel Hendricks to arrange the exchange. As she wrote the final lines, Anna became aware of Notah watching her from across the fire, his dark eyes reflecting the flames. Something unspoken passed between them, fragile as smoke, powerful as a promise. "It's finished," she said, handing him the sealed letter. Their fingers brushed, lingering longer than necessary. "Thank you," he said simply. In that moment, Anna realized with startling clarity that she no longer felt like a captive, and that revelation terrified her more than any threat of violence ever could. 3 nights later, Anna stood at the edge of the mesa, watching distant lightning flash silently over the mountains. Behind her, the camp had grown increasingly tense with each passing day. No response had come from her father or the army. Scouts reported cavalry patrols moving closer to their territory. "They're coming, aren't they?" she asked as Notah approached. He nodded, his expression grave. "Soon. 2 days, maybe less. Because of me." The weight of responsibility settled heavily on her shoulders. "No." Notah's voice was firm. "This was always their plan. Your presence only gave them time to prepare." Anna turned to face him fully. In the weeks of her captivity, she had come to read the subtle shifts in his expression, the tightening around his eyes that betrayed concern, the slight softening of his mouth when something pleased him. Now she saw resignation. "What will happen to your brother? To the others being held?" Pain flashed across his features. "If we fight, they die. If we surrender, they live, but not as warriors, as prisoners on reservation land. And you?" The question emerged barely above a whisper. Notah looked beyond her, to the vast darkness stretching toward the horizon. "I will not surrender." The finality in his voice struck Anna like a physical blow. "There must be another way." "There is." His gaze returned to hers, intense and unwavering. "You must go." "What?" She stepped back, confusion clouding her thoughts. "Tomorrow night. I will take you part way to Santa Fe. You will tell them you escaped." Understanding dawned slowly. "You're letting me go." "It was never about keeping you, Anna Johnson." Something flickered in his eyes. Regret, perhaps. "Only about saving my people." Anna felt strangely hollow at his words. Of course. She had been nothing more than leverage from the beginning. The fact that she had begun to see him differently, to feel something inexplicable stirring whenever he was near, was her own foolishness. "Very well," she said stiffly. "Tomorrow night." Notah studied her, his head tilted slightly. "You are angry." "No," she lied, "merely practical." "As you are." He reached out, his fingers grazing her cheek with unexpected gentleness. "Not always practical, Anna." "Not with you." Before she could respond, he turned and walked away, leaving her with a chaos of emotions she dared not name. The following day passed in a blur of preparation. Anna was given fresh clothing, a simple dress that had belonged to one of the women, now adjusted to fit her slimmer frame. Keisha pressed dried meat and corn cakes into her hands, murmuring words Anna still couldn't fully understand, but recognized as blessings. As dusk approached, Notah saddled 2 horses. The camp had grown oddly quiet, as if holding its breath. "We ride south," he told her, checking the cinch on her saddle. "There is a trading post near the Rio Grande. From there you can reach Santa Fe safely." Anna nodded, suddenly unable to speak, past the tightness in her throat. After weeks of captivity, freedom should have felt like salvation. Instead, it tasted bittersweet. They departed as the first stars appeared, riding in silence through deepening shadows. Notah led them along hidden trails, avoiding the main routes where army patrols might lurk. The night was cool, the desert alive with the soft rustling of nocturnal creatures. Hours passed. Anna found herself memorizing the straight line of Notah's back as he rode ahead, the way moonlight gleamed on his raven hair. Memories surfaced unbidden, his hands carving the cedar flute, his voice translating ancient stories, the feel of his fingers curled around hers during his fever. When they stopped to rest the horses near a small spring, Anna finally broke the silence. "What will you do after I'm gone?" Notah crouched by the water, refilling their canteens. "Return to my people. Move camp deeper into mountains." "And then?" He straightened, facing her across the moonlit clearing. "Then we survive, as we always have. By fighting? By dying?" Frustration edged her voice. "If necessary. There must be a better way, Notah." He approached slowly, stopping close enough that she could see the conflict in his eyes. "What way, Anna? Surrender our spirit along with our weapons? Become ghosts on our own land?" "Live," she said simply. "Find a place where no one hunts you." "There is no such place left." His voice had softened, resigned rather than angry. "Not for my kind. Then make one." Anna stepped closer, driven by an urgency she couldn't explain. Cross into Mexico, find unclaimed land, build something new. Notah's gaze searched hers. Why does it matter to you what becomes of me? The question hung between them, demanding a truth Anna had been avoiding for days. Because she faltered, then gathered her courage. Because I can no longer imagine a world where you don't exist, Notah. Something shifted in his expression, surprise giving way to a warmth she had glimpsed only in rare moments. His hand rose to touch her cheek, calloused fingers gentle against her skin. Anna Johnson, he said, her name a caress in his mouth. You belong to a world that would never accept such feelings. Perhaps I no longer belong to that world. The admission shocked her even as she spoke it. For one breathless moment, Anna thought he might kiss her. Instead, Notah stepped back, his hand falling away. We should continue, he said, his voice rough. Still far to go. They rode through the remainder of the night, the silence between them charged with unspoken words. As dawn lightened the eastern sky, the trading post came into view, a squat adobe building with a corral and well. Notah halted on a ridge overlooking the settlement. From here you go alone. Anna dismounted, her legs stiff from the long ride. Notah followed, taking the reins of her horse. The trader is called Martinez, he said. He is fair. Tell him you were lost. He will arrange escort to Santa Fe. And you? Anna asked, her throat tight. Where will you go? Notah's gaze lifted to the distant mountains. Perhaps Mexico, as you said. Perhaps not. I could come with you. The words escaped before she could reconsider. His eyes returned to hers, filled with a sorrow that cut deeper than any blade. No, Anna. Your father waits. Your life waits. He hesitated, then added quietly, and my path leads where you cannot follow. Because I'm white? Because our peoples are enemies? Because I will not be the one who steals your future. Notah's voice was final. Go back to your world, Anna Johnson. Remember what you have seen. Speak truth when others speak lies about my people. That is how you can help us now. He reached into his pouch and withdrew something, the cedar flute now finished, its surface polished smooth. Take this, he said, pressing it into her hand. To remember. Anna's fingers closed around the flute, warm from his body. I don't need this to remember you, Notah. Their eyes held for a long moment. Then, with gentle deliberation, Notah leaned forward and pressed his lips to her forehead. A benediction, a farewell. Go, he whispered against her skin. Before I forget what honor demands. Anna stepped back, tears blurring her vision. She turned toward the trading post, forcing one foot in front of the other. At the bottom of the ridge she looked back. Notah remained where she had left him, a solitary figure silhouetted against the dawn sky. He raised his hand once, then turned his horse and disappeared into the shadows of the mesa. Anna continued to the trading post, her heart fragmenting with each step that carried her away from him. The trader, Martinez, was indeed fair. He asked few questions, provided food and a place to rest, and arranged for a freight wagon heading to Santa Fe to take her along. 2 days later, Anna found herself entering the territorial capital, its adobe buildings and bustling plaza, a jarring contrast to the quiet of the Apache camp. Her father wept when she was brought to the mission house, gathering her into an embrace that should have felt like coming home. Colonel Hendricks arrived shortly after, demanding details of her captivity and the Apache camp's location. Anna told a careful story, that she had been treated well, that she had escaped during a thunderstorm, that she had wandered for days before finding the trading post. She claimed she had been blindfolded during much of her captivity and could not identify the location of the camp. Hendricks clearly disbelieved her, but her father's standing in the community prevented him from pressing further. They're savages, Miss Johnson, the colonel said as he prepared to leave. Whatever sympathies you may have developed during your ordeal are misplaced. We'll find them soon enough. After he departed, Reverend Johnson studied his daughter with concern. You're different, Anna. What happened out there? Anna fingered the cedar flute hidden in the folds of her borrowed dress. I learned to see, Father, truly see. In the days that followed, Anna moved through Santa Fe like a ghost. She attended church services at her father's side, nodded politely at social gatherings, and wore the new dresses ordered for her from Eastern catalogues. But none of it felt real. At night, she dreamed of mesa winds and star-filled skies. She woke reaching for someone who wasn't there. A month after her return, Anna attended a soiree at the governor's mansion. Lamplight glittered on crystal glasses, ladies in silk gowns twirled with uniformed officers, and conversations hummed around topics that now seemed trivially distant. The latest fashions from St. Louis, the upcoming railroad expansion, the Indian problem. Standing on the veranda to escape the stifling heat within, Anna overheard two army officers speaking nearby. "Hendricks has their trail," one said, lighting a cigar. "Scout spotted smoke from their camp yesterday. They're planning to move in before dawn." "About time," the other replied. "That band's been raiding for months. Leader's a fierce one. Scarred face, goes by Notah. Killed Jenkins last spring. Well, he won't see another spring. Hendricks is taking no prisoners this time." The wineglass nearly slipped from Anna's suddenly nerveless fingers. Tomorrow. They would attack tomorrow. She moved through the remainder of the evening in a haze of dread, making her excuses as soon as propriety allowed. Back at the mission house, she paced her small room until the household fell silent. Then, with movements rendered steady by determination, Anna changed into the simplest dress she owned. She packed a small bundle, food, a canteen, the few coins she possessed. Lastly, she tucked the cedar flute into her pocket, its presence a talisman against doubt. Her father's study door was unlocked. Inside she found paper and pen, scrawling a brief note. "Dearest Father, forgive me, but I must follow my heart. I have learned that love knows no boundaries of race or creed. By the time you read this, I will be gone. Please do not search for me. Know only that I have found where I truly belong. Your loving daughter, Anna." She left the note on his desk, then slipped from the house into the velvet darkness of the New Mexican night. The livery stable was quiet, the night watchman dozing. Anna selected a sturdy mare, saddled her with hands that remembered Keisha's patient instructions, and led the horse quietly into the street before mounting. As the first snowflakes began to dust the adobe rooftops of Santa Fe, Anna Johnson turned her horse toward the mountains and rode into the wilderness, not as a captive this time, but as a woman who had found her true north in the eyes of a warrior named Notah. The snow thickened as Anna rode higher into the foothills, the mare's hooves crunching through the thin crust forming on the ground. She had left Santa Fe hours ago, guided only by the stars and a desperate hope that she could reach Notah's people before the army did. Dawn found her deep in unfamiliar territory, the landscape transformed by a blanket of white. Anna dismounted, allowing the horse to rest while she scanned the horizon. Mountains loomed ahead, their peaks shrouded in clouds heavy with more snow. Which way? Notah had always navigated with an instinct born of belonging to this land. Anna had only determination and fear. "Please," she whispered to the vast silence, "help me find them." As if in answer, a distant wisp of smoke caught her eye, almost invisible against the gray sky, rising from a sheltered canyon to the west. Heart pounding, Anna remounted and urged the mare forward. The approach took longer than she anticipated, the terrain growing increasingly treacherous. Twice, the horse nearly lost its footing on ice-slicked rocks. By midday, the snowfall had intensified, reducing visibility to a few yards ahead. Anna's fingers grew numb despite her gloves. Her thoughts turned to Notah, his strength, his quiet dignity, the rare smile that transformed his solemn face. What if she was too late? What if Hendricks had already found them? The possibility was too devastating to contemplate. A sudden movement ahead startled her. A figure materialized from the swirling snow, an Apache warrior, rifle raised. Not Notah. Younger, with a face painted for battle. Anna raised her hands slowly. "I seek Notah," she said clearly. "I bring warning. Army comes." The warrior's eyes narrowed in recognition. He lowered the rifle slightly, then whistled, a sound like a desert bird. Two more warriors appeared, emerging silently from the rocks. "Anna Johnson," one said, surprise evident in his voice. "Please," she urged. "There's no time. Colonel Hendricks knows where the camp is. They plan to attack at dawn." A swift exchange in Apache followed, then the first warrior nodded sharply. "Come. Quick." They led her deeper into the canyon, following a path invisible to untrained eyes. The snow was lighter here, sheltered by towering rock walls. After a mile of difficult terrain, the narrow passage opened into a protected valley. The Apache camp had been established beside a frozen stream, dwellings positioned against the cliff face for additional protection. Women paused in their tasks as Anna rode in, flanked by the warriors. Children stared openly. Keisha emerged from a dwelling, her weathered face registering shock, then concern. "Where is Notah?" Anna asked urgently, dismounting with stiff limbs. "Hunting," Keisha replied, approaching cautiously. "Return soon." Her dark eyes searched Anna's face. "Why you here?" "Soldiers come. Tomorrow at dawn. They know where you are." Keisha inhaled sharply, then began calling out instructions. The camp erupted into controlled activity, women packing essentials, warriors gathering weapons. "How you know this?" a familiar voice behind her. Anna turned to find Notah standing there, a freshly killed deer slung across his shoulders. Snow dusted his black hair, melting against the warmth of his skin. His expression was guarded, disbelieving. "I heard officers talking at the governor's mansion," Anna explained. "Colonel Hendricks is leading the attack himself. They plan to take no prisoners." Notah handed the deer to another warrior, his eyes never leaving Anna's face. "Why did you come back?" he asked quietly. Around them, the evacuation continued, but Anna was aware only of Notah, of the pain and confusion in his dark eyes, of the way his hand clenched at his side as if restraining himself from reaching for her. "Because I couldn't live in that world anymore," she said simply. "Not when my heart was here." Something shifted in his expression, wariness giving way to a cautious hope. "Anna, I choose this," she interrupted, stepping closer. "I choose you, if you'll have me." For a heartbeat, Notah remained motionless. Then his arms enfolded her, strong and certain, pulling her against his chest. Anna breathed in his scent, pine and smoke and something uniquely him, as his lips pressed against her hair. "My heart knew you would return," he murmured. Even when my mind said it was impossible, a shout from the edge of camp broke the moment. Notah released her reluctantly, his expression shifting to the focused alertness of a leader. "We must move quickly," he said. "Into the higher mountains. There is a place difficult to reach, safe for winter." "What about your brother, the others being held?" Anna asked. Pain flickered across Notah's features. "We tried negotiation. Now we must survive." He touched her cheek gently. "We will find another way to free them, but first we must save our people here." Within an hour, the camp had been dismantled, leaving little evidence of their presence. The band moved out in small groups, taking different routes to avoid leaving a clear trail. Keisha guided Anna, showing her how to walk in the footprints of others to minimize tracks. Notah led the main group, his knowledge of the terrain proving invaluable as the snow continued to fall, obscuring landmarks. They traveled until nightfall, finally stopping in a sheltered cave high on the mountainside. From its entrance, Anna could see the valley below, now transformed into an unbroken expanse of white. "The snow is our ally," Notah explained as they gathered around small smokeless fires. "It covers our trail, and soldiers do not like to fight in such weather." "What if they follow anyway?" Anna asked, accepting a cup of hot pine needle tea from Keisha. "Then we fight." Notah's gaze was steady. "But they will not find us easily." That night, as the tribe settled into uneasy sleep, Notah drew Anna aside to a secluded corner of the cave. "You risk everything by coming here," he said quietly. "Your father, your future." "My future is my choice," Anna interrupted, "and I choose to be where I belong." Notah studied her face in the dim firelight. "You know what awaits us. Always moving, always hunted. No easy life like in Santa Fe. I lived among fancy dresses and formal dinners for a month after leaving you," Anna replied, "and I have never felt more alone." Something softened in his expression. He reached into his pouch and withdrew a familiar object, the cedar flute she had left behind when fleeing the trading post. "You forgot this," he said. Anna's eyes widened. "You went back for it." "I went back for you." The simple admission hung between them. Too late. "You were already gone." Anna's heart constricted. "I'm here now." Notah placed the flute in her hands, his fingers lingering against hers. "Among my people, when a man gives a woman such a gift, it means his heart speaks to hers." "And what does your heart say, Notah?" Instead of answering with words, he leaned forward and brushed his lips against hers, tentative at first, then with growing certainty as Anna responded. The kiss deepened, bridging worlds that had once seemed impossibly distant. When they finally parted, Notah rested his forehead against hers. "My heart says you are my home, Anna Johnson, wherever we may travel. And you are mine," she whispered back. Dawn arrived with clearing skies and bitter cold. From their vantage point, they watched as a column of cavalry entered the canyon far below, moving cautiously through the deep snow. Colonel Hendricks was visible at the front, his uniform distinct even at a distance. "They will find nothing," Notah said with quiet satisfaction. "By the time they reach our old camp, we will be across the border." "Mexico?" Anna asked. He nodded. "For now. Later, perhaps we find place where Apache and White can live in peace." His gaze turned to her, questioning. "This journey will not be easy." Anna laced her fingers through his. "No worthy journey ever is." As the tribe prepared to depart, Keisha approached, offering Anna a beautifully beaded doeskin pouch. "For new beginning," the older woman said with a smile that transformed her weathered face. Inside the pouch, Anna found seeds, corn, beans, squash, the promise of roots, of growth, of a future to be cultivated. Notah's arm slipped around her waist. "Ready?" Anna looked back one last time at the world she was leaving, the distant spire of the Santa Fe church, the civilization that had once defined her. Then she turned to face the mountains ahead, wild and unknown. "Ready," she affirmed. They began their journey southward, moving as one people, Notah's band, now including the Reverend's daughter, who had found her true home not in buildings of adobe and wood, but in the love of a warrior and the freedom of the open sky. Miles into their journey, as they crested a ridge overlooking vast expanses of untouched wilderness, Notah paused, gazing at the woman who had defied two worlds to return to him. "In Apache stories," he said, "there is belief that some souls know each other before they meet, that Great Spirit creates them as two halves of same whole." Anna touched the scar on his cheek gently. "Is that what we are? Two halves finding each other?" Notah smiled, a full, unguarded smile that transformed his solemn features. "No, Anna Johnson. We are two wholes, choosing to walk same path." He gestured toward the horizon, where mountains met sky in a seamless blue. "That is stronger than destiny." As they continued their journey, the cedar flute secured safely in Anna's pouch beside the seeds of their future. The snow began to recede beneath a strengthening sun, nature's reminder that even the harshest winters eventually yield to spring, and that love against all odds can bloom in the most unexpected of wildernesses. Their path ahead would not be easy. They would face hardship, prejudice, and danger. But they would face it together, a union of two worlds that society deemed incompatible, proving with each step that the human heart recognizes no such boundaries. And somewhere, in a valley yet undiscovered, they would plant Keisha's seeds in new soil, growing not just crops, but a life that honored both their pasts while creating something entirely new, a testament to the truth that sometimes one must leave everything behind to find what was always meant to be. As night fell over the mountains, a solitary figure stood at the Mexican border, Reverend Thomas Johnson, clutching his daughter's farewell letter. He had tracked them this far, driven by grief and confusion. Now, watching the distant campfire where his daughter sat beside the Apache warrior, he faced his own moment of truth. The rifle in his hands felt heavy, his finger hovering near the trigger. He could end this, bring Anna home, fulfill his duty as a father and a man of his time. Instead, he watched as Anna leaned against Notah, her head resting on his shoulder while he played the cedar flute, its melody carrying across the divide between their worlds. Slowly, Reverend Johnson lowered the rifle. His daughter's words echoed in his mind. "I have found where I truly belong." Perhaps, he thought, watching the couple illuminated by firelight, she had found something he had only preached but never truly understood, love that transcended all boundaries. Turning away, the Reverend began his long journey back to Santa Fe, leaving behind not just his daughter, but the certainty that had defined his life. And in that departure was its own kind of freedom, for Anna, for Notah, and perhaps someday for himself. Thank you for staying with us until the end of this beautiful journey. If this story moved you, please help us by subscribing to our channel, leaving a like, writing a heartfelt comment, and sharing with your friends and family. Your support means the world to us. It truly keeps our passion alive. and encourages us to continue crafting new stories filled with love, redemption, and powerful emotional turns. At the end of this video, another incredible story from our channel will appear. Click on it and let yourself be surprised by more emotional storytelling like this one.